the 6th. We are going to have the Pledge of Allegiance, and tonight Mr. Coy Young has the pledge.
Thank you. I've asked John McDaniel to lead us in the pledge tonight.
Oh, how nice. Thank you.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry. I'm sorry. We'll now have a moment of silence.
I'd ask during the moment of silence, you remember the Duncan and Bratton family is there having some illnesses that need your thoughts and prayers.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you. It's very nice, thank you. Let's take a look at the agenda. You want to see anything on here? Dr. Sullivan, did you have something you wanted to make a change on that you and I discussed?
I believe so. Let me find where I was.
Page 11. Did you want to change anything?
Oh, no, we'll still have our scholarship. It may not be every person, because not every person can be here, because some students are already back at college for our family scholarship, but we will working to make sure people get here.
We'll mail a check.
Yes. The only other thing that I would call everyone's attention to is on page 20, the very last page. This was added yesterday because we had the request for funding for the design of the new middle school, but I didn't have on there, and it may be back here that I'll have to add a little bit later, of funding where it's coming from. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get to it.
So on number 2, you're talking about for the new middle school?
Yep.
Okay. So you're just going to discuss that when we get there?
It's actually on page 14. So on page 14, number 3 and number 2 on page 20 kind of go together.
Okay. All right. You can decide how you
Yep.
want to slide in there on
Yep.
that. Okay. Anyone else have anything on the agenda that you want to discuss? Let's take a look at the consent agenda. I will give you a moment to thumb through that so that you can look at it a little closer. It's, once again, quite lengthy, as it always is, so we'll take just a moment to thumb through it. Do I have any questions or comments? Yes, sir.
I have a question about the amount of bus contractors that are going out. So, Trey, do you want to speak to that a little bit? And are we short still? Are we going to be short this year? Are we having new contractors come in and fill these spots?
If it is okay at this point, I'll give a quick update on where we are, seeing how tomorrow we start.
Yes, sir. That will be
We
just
actually already
fine.
had buses rolling because the School for the Blind started yesterday, so we've had buses on the road for a couple days now. But to answer your question, a little higher than normal for this number. This would normally be kind of scattered out probably throughout the first couple of months as they see that they have trouble getting drivers. Currently, all of these routes, except for Route 13, is filled. We have contractors that have taken, or going to take all of these routes except for one. That is, Route 13 is a Rockville school. It's being currently covered by multiple bus contractors that are in the same area. We will start with 325 routes tomorrow. Route 142, which is a Stewart's Creek school zone, is uncovered at this time. It's being covered by multiple buses. Route 319, which is also a Stewart's Creek, it's a Stewart's Creek to Browns Chapel. We have a contractor that will cover this route for the first week to 10 days. We will have a special ed bus in that area that will not be starting its route until Monday. Sped Bus 291 will start with new contractor driver on Monday. The Transportation Department has spoken with all the parents on that route to let them know that their transportation will be starting on Monday. The Stewart's Creek to Browns Chapel route, which is Route 319. Last year when we did the route to Stewartsboro from Stewart's Creek Elementary, it was difficult, but those students, we started in October. Those students were already in our system. All of these students are new to us, so we're not getting them until they register for school. Fortunately, in a situation like this, we would expect to see somewhere in 25 to 30. We are, as of 4 o'clock, we were at 66 students, which is 2 full buses. We've already added 1 bus. Mr. Runyon's already given me the eye. We're probably going to have to add a 3rd bus in this area to provide the students Stewart's Creek to Browns Chapel. Because this is an unusual route, and I've tried to explain this numerous ways, typically when we like on a couple of these routes where we have a route that's unfilled, we take the routes that are on the side of them or close to them because they're running routes from last year. They just kind of slide in and pick up parts of those routes temporarily till we're able to fill it. This is a non-existent route with non-existent students. So it makes it doubly difficult to build a route because as children register, we add them to a bus, but they may get further apart, which gets us more into almost a sped bus situation. But even with a special education bus, most of those students are in our system and we know who they are, so we're able to build those routes ahead of time. We're literally building this route as these children register. We've had a lot of very frustrated parents, a lot of angry calls because until today we couldn't tell them a bus number or a time because we were trying to get as many children scheduled as we could because of tomorrow being our first day. So transportation stayed tonight. They've contacted all of these parents. They've been given their times and their stops and where they're going to be. Most of these, because they are treated more like a special education, they're not in a we will probably have to pick them up at their driveway. It's not like a normal situation where we can direct them all to a corner or to something like you would normally go into our routing system and it can tell you exactly where your stop is and what time to be there. We're building this one, so it's going to change. So we're asking for everyone to give us a little grace, work with us. The Transportation Department has worked a lot of hours trying to get this taken care of and as many students on the buses as we can. The schools have been great as students have registered and we know that they're coming from Stewart's Creek to Brown Chapel. We're getting the paperwork in a timely manner from the schools, which allows us to then begin to build the route. So, a little more than you asked for, but out of 325 routes, we have 3 uncovered open, meaning nobody has the contract, but they are covered. We have 1 special education route that's not going to start until Monday, and we've been able to cover the 66 children that have been rezoned Stewart's Creek to Browns Chapel as of 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Thank you. That was very informative. I appreciate you doing that on the cuff there, Trey. Thank you for asking, Mr. Tidwell. Yes, ma'am, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. Dr. Sullivan, are we still, the kids that were, when we first put this cap in, it was for Stewart's Creek to Stewartsboro. Do we still have kids that are going to Stewartsboro?
We do. Yep, this is just for this year. After last year, Stewartsboro was full, and
Right.
so now it is anybody new goes to Browns Chapel instead.
How many kids are going into Stewartsboro that are from
I can have that for Thursday.
That'd be great. If you can give us a split, I mean, breakdown.
Do it for Thursday.
Towards borrow and then,
It'll be based on last year probably,
Sure.
because the new numbers won't be finalized, but I can do last year.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Kind of like our funding.
Ms. Bratton?
Yes, yes, got another question?
Yeah, another question on the buses. So I guess the leading of my question is, since you do have more people leaving than what is typical, even though you are getting those routes filled, I know next year when we open up the additions, and of course the new elementary, you're going to have maybe less kids on certain buses, but you're going to have more buses, more routes because of the additional school. So do you think we're going to have a hard time filling all those extra routes? Trying to get in front of the issue before we get there.
Even, there will be additional routes. It may not be as many as we think because a large number of those children are already in that area. And those buses will be shifting. In other words, they'll just kind of collapse in or spread out. But there would be, based on time factors, some additional buses. Most contractors are picking up 3 elementaries. When they run their elementary route, they're picking up 2 or 3 elementary schools already. So they would probably drop one, add one. We'll start building those probably after Christmas. Sometime we'll start begin to look at building those routes. The situation we're in now is they're adding streets and subdivisions faster than they get in our system. So part of this is a problem we already deal with. But my answer is we are holding our own, basically,
Sure.
which is much better than the districts around us. I do expect to see that trend begin to change in the other direction, meaning I think it will become more difficult. I'm hoping that we are not in the same position those around us are, but it's going to bring back up in conversation the parent responsibility zones. We're going to have to look at ways to reduce our ridership.
Fair enough.
And it's tough questions. It's tough things to discuss.
Anything else, Mr. Tiffany?
Oh, that's what I was asking. Thank you.
Anyone else have a question on buses? All right. Anyone else have a question on anything on the consent agenda? All right, we do not have any public comments, so we are on number 7.
Yep, number 7, I'll do Thursday night. I do not envision that as the first full day of school. And to tell you that preparing for the first full day of school when one of your kids isn't in it is tough. And so I don't envision my family will be here Thursday night. I will probably do that myself. But normally they would be.
All right, let's look at number 8, instruction. Dr. Sullivan?
Yep, so this is an annual, the Carl D. Perkins Basic Grant, Carl D. Perkins Career and Technical Education Act of 2018, known as Perkins 5, is presented for approval for the funding period of July 1st, 24 through June 30th, 25. The grant is for $754,876.90. Carl D. Perkins Basic Grant provides funding for program improvement, equipment, travel, and staff development for our CTE teachers.
Any questions or comments on the Carl D. Perkins Basic Grant?
Ms. Bratton?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
have questions, but not really about the Carl D. Perkins grant, but I do have questions about the CTE and the grant that we received last year. I believe last year there was a building we were looking at to use the funding, the grant for that, and what happened? I'm just curious to know what happened with that, and I know we changed some things, but I'm just curious.
We allocated that to our schools because we couldn't secure a site or the ability to not hit our the debt ratio for the county commission. So that was what we wanted to do, but we couldn't find a site or the ability to fund it. So instead, that was allocated to schools.
Okay.
Good question.
All right, thank
Very
you.
good
I
question.
just remember we had talked about that. And
Anyone else have a question on the Carl D. Perkins Basic Grant? If not, We'll look at number 2.
This is the Carl D. Perkins Reserve Grant. So the Carl D. Perkins Reserve Grant is presented for approval for the funding period July 1st, 24 through June 30th, 25. This competitive grant is for $50,000. This reserve grant provides funding for HVAC trainer simulations and training for the Mechanical, Electrical, and Plumbing MEP CTE program of study instructors at Oakland High, Rockville High, and Smyrna High.
Questions or comments on number 2? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Sharp?
Do they already have this program at Laverne High School?
Dr. Chastain?
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else have a question? We'll look at number 3.
This is an updated job title for ESL. The ESL department is requesting to update and consolidate the titles of ESL coach with Tier 1 emphasis and Title I ESL coach to ESL support specialist. This would allow these positions to work with all schools and teachers as opposed to Title I schools only.
Questions about the updated job title? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Darby?
Are those positions paid out of Title I funds, do we know? And would it affect that?
So they were paid out of Title I funds, and which is why they were only able to be used at certain schools. So the request is to be able to use them more broadly, and they are extremely good at what they do. And so this was from the ESL department just as a way to get them to all of our schools, to focus on Tier 1 and not just ESL teachers within Title I schools.
So are we changing where their funding is coming from then?
We are doing two things. We're changing where their funding is coming from to allow them to serve all schools, and we are also looking to make them specialists so that we can increase their scope of work, because there's quite a bit to do in that arena. So that would be twofold for two people, and that would be the total cost.
So will that open up funding in Title I for some additional positions?
Well, we had some cuts, so we aren't looking to add additional positions. We're just looking to better utilize the money we still have in Title I and still serving all schools. I mean, it's kind of a win-win is how we see this. It's a little fiscally responsible in terms of how to use the people we already have, just at a greater scale and for all schools. So it's a elementary specific specialist and a 6-8 specialist.
Anyone else? Okay. Lead ESL teacher stipends.
ESL department's requesting their approval of lead ESL teacher stipends for the 24-25 school year. Each school will receive $1,000 for a lead ESL teacher stipend. The school may decide to split the position between 2 ESL teachers, which will provide $500 to both lead ESL teachers. Stipends will be paid per semester in December and May during the 24-25 school year. Title III funds will be utilized for these stipends, and this is similar to what we did with special education last board meeting.
Okay. Questions? Comments? Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, how many positions will this be for?
Do you know lead ESL?
It's for the lead teacher at each school, so there would be one at each school, so 50. I'm thinking let's say 51, just to be sure. They can split it between 2 people if they want to go 500 each. And as we get those names, that'll come before the board as well. This is just a request to use it.
Other questions? Comments? Number 5, CTE stipends.
Similar to curriculum and instruction, CTE department would like to allocate approximately $15,000 of Perkins 24-25 funds to support the CTE curriculum team leads for our high school CTE career clusters. The purpose of the CTE curriculum team lead would be to help develop instructional capacity of teachers, industry partners, and students within our county. The leads will be responsible for conducting in-person virtual meetings for career cluster PLCs and advisory council meetings. The allocations are each participant receives $500 stipend for conducting professional development sessions and advisory council sessions through the PLC framework by CTE career clusters, and then you have all of the leads down through there. I believe this is at least the third or fourth year that we've done CTE career clusters. Yeah.
Questions on this? Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if this would be appropriate tonight or maybe Thursday, but could we get kind of an update on the Innovative Schools grant and where that stuff sits? Because I'm almost curious, and it may not be possible, but if
we have a school that's lacking, if some of these funds could maybe be joined with that Innovative Schools model to complete some of those projects, because we were having issues with how much permits and things were running. So is that something we could talk about on Thursday?
We can, there are different rules for each grant, so that would be the one thing we'd have to work on how it gets split. But yeah, we'll get with them.
Other questions? Okay, let's take a look at number 9,
So
financial matters.
financial matters, the first one is board recognition of the Eagleville High School Football Booster Club at Eagleville High School as an RCS support organization, SSO. Per RCS Board Policy 2.404, only a group or organization has entered into a written cooperative agreement with the board may use the name, mascot, or logo of a school or the school district to solicit or raise money, materials, property, securities, services, or other things of value. The EHS Football Booster Club has provided all information requested from the board's written cooperative agreement and can be recognized as an RCS SSO. It is noted this SSO has not applied and received an IRS determination letter to be recognized as a 501c3 nonprofit entity that is compliant with BOE written cooperative agreement. The IRS letter allows the SSO to open and operate out of a checking account that is separate, and that should say Eagleville, not Blackman. That would be very strange if Blackman was funding Eagleville High School. From Eagleville High School student activity funds until the determination is applied for and received, the booster club will utilize again Eagleville. I know that's where Mr. Pedigo came from, but I don't think that's what he wants to do. Or maybe it is what he wants to do. I don't think Blackman wants him to do that. Student activity funds for all its financial activities and be subject to the BOE financial policies and procedures. Also, the approval is contingent upon the organization providing updated detailed financial policy for which they have been notified.
Wow. Does anyone have a question?
We just have to fix the one before we vote on it.
Yeah, we will redo this. She will fix it, yeah. We will definitely fix that. All right. Did you make that note, Don? All right, my dear. Number 2.
Number 2 is Fund 177 budgeted revenue and expenditure approval. This Fund 177 capital project revision is presented to the board to approve the budget for the capital projects fund that was final approved by the Rutherford County Commission on June 24th, 2024, in the amount of $18,977,525. This approval by the board is technical in nature and is needed in order to follow the budget processes set forth for Fund 177 for the fiscal year 24-25 fiscal year. I believe our original budget had a little bit over 19 million in 177, and then the county commission removed several $100,000 to do an additional 1% raise for their staff from this fund. And so this is coming back before the board just to say this is how much they're actually allocating to us.
Okay, questions on number 2? Financial matters?
Ms. Bratton?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, before we move to, out of Fund 177, the cut from the funding for the Fund 177, did it impact any projects that we were wanting to do?
No,
Okay.
because we budgeted off of last year's amount anyways, and this is
Okay.
above last year's amount.
Oh, perfect. Okay,
Good
good.
question. Anyone else? All right, let's take a look at number 3.
I talked to our county finance director on Friday evening late about how to fund the design fees for Beatty Middle School. So this amendment is to fund the design fees for the Beatty Middle School project. Even though the other school is Poplar Hill Elementary, we have not had a naming committee yet for this, so this still is the Beatty Middle School project. This project will be funded by amending General Purpose Fund 141 by decreasing 39,000 unassigned fund balance and increasing operating transfers account 99-100-590, transfers out in the amount of $3,700,000. As you will see on the when we get a little bit further, our estimated cost is about $74 million. This allows us to be able to start design fees so that we can get bid process. Hopefully, Trey, when are we looking? I know Laverne High, we're hoping to do bids when?
Just talked to them today. We're planning to go out for bid on Laverne Hines end of September 2nd, and we'll have bids end of the month.
That's great.
I think when I did this, it
January.
was,
Is it December, January?
it's December, January. If we approve the funding this is basically the end of the 8th month, 9th month. We'd be sometime March or April going out for bid.
So as soon as we're done tonight, I have to go forward Michael Smith information just about finances because they're looking to discuss Laverne Sedition and this project out of this year. So that's what we're pushing with. We've been on our 5-year plan, so that's what we're going to be requesting again. So
Questions on that? All right, take a look at the number 4, new extra.
So these are just new extracurricular supplements. We talked about them at our board retreat, but this was, our actual document has not been updated since 2018. We are not adjusting any actual supplements. I know we had some discussion. We probably need to look at some adjustments to fine arts, athletics, all those, because they haven't been updated, and by that point, it'll be 7 years. But these are the new ones. Flag football is 4% head coach, 2% assistant. Lacrosse is 6% head coach. The reasoning for that is flag football is a short season compared to lacrosse. High school athletic director, right now middle school has an athletic director supplement, but high school does not. Elementary archery is 4%. Right now we have a middle school archery supplement. High school does not because archery isn't as big in high school yet for us. And then we're starting to get some of our fine arts back in line. Elementary choir, 2%, middle school theater, 4%, and high school theater assistant, 4%. All these were part of our budget, and we tried to hit with fine arts 1 improvement in each grade band.
And we have already budgeted for all this. We're just
Yes.
making sure it's. Questions? All right. Legal?
Tab 3, since this will be the first and final reading, I will read all of these on Thursday, if that's okay. But these policies, several pages, unless we just want to sit here all night. These policies below are recommended on the first and final reading as are necessary to take effect before the start of the 24-25 school year.
We will read each one of these separately, and we will have a roll call vote on each policy separately on Thursday night. But if you have a question, go right ahead and let us know which policy you have a question on. Yes, sir?
On policy 4.201, class size ratios, that's under H. We need to modify the wording a little bit of that one because the way that the law change implemented, we wrote our policy for 612 CTE class sizes. The law only actually changed to 6.8. Is that correct, Dr.
Just the middle
Chastain?
school class
Yes,
size.
it's only middle school class sizes, not
Okay.
high school CTE, so our policy was going to go against state law.
Oh, okay.
6.8, not 612. Why they didn't include high school, I have absolutely no idea. Do you want to add it and go for it?
So on that policy, the only thing that will change is on line 6, where it says, as Dr. Sullivan just mentioned, in classes grades 9 through 12, we will change that to 6.8 and then strike through everything after that till the period on line 7, and then everything else aligns with the new state law. So it just, we had a little extra information that made it contradictory.
Anyone else on that? This will really help in middle school, being able, you almost add another class by being able to put in 5 more people, so this will really help. Are there any questions about any policies tonight that you need to discuss? All right, that would be just, there's going to be a lot of them, but we're only going to do it one time. So we'll do it on Thursday night, okay? All right, number 2, Visitor Code of Conduct.
Go under policies as well, because that does need to be, so we may need to
Okay,
reorganize
so what
that.
do we need to do?
That'll need to be reorganized to go above that motion right in front of it. Because we will have to have this adopted in one read. It was supposed to be adopted by July 1st, the same date that the state law went into effect.
To make it difficult.
That does.
All right, so we need to
We will
change
move
that
that.
around just a little bit?
Yeah, we'll move that under new policies as well.
Okay, all right, so we'll just make a change for the recommended approval motion, right? All right, number 2, Visitor Code of Conduct.
So the Visitor Code of Conduct, this is that change in state law, Public Acts of 2024, Chapter 810, requires the board to adopt a code of conduct for visitors which describes the type of behavior expected from a visitor entering on school grounds and the consequences of a visitor's failure to adhere to the standards. The code must emphasize the importance of appropriate language, respect for the person and property of others, and for establishing and maintaining a safe, secure, and peaceful educational setting that promotes learning and positive character development. The code must be placed where visitors can see it, be posted to the district and school websites, and a printed copy given to parents and guardians. So that is connected back to a policy. That's where I was referring, so we don't have to move anything there.
Okay.
It's actually connected to one of our policies, and this is the actual acceptance or approval of the Visitor Code of Conduct.
Okay. All right, questions on that?
Already seen it posted in several schools already.
Good. All right, number 3, 24-25, approved fees.
So per policy 6.709, prior to the beginning of each school year, the board, upon the recommendation of the principals and directors of schools, shall approve all student fees for the upcoming school year. Additional fees may be approved during the school year as provided. We don't necessarily have any fees because we're supposed to have a free and appropriate education. Do you have anything added to that as well, Monica, for fees? And they are on tab, can we add a tab for that? Is it on tab 3? Okay. Can you go to tab 3 for us real quick? Can you go to tab 3 so we can look at the fees real quick? It'll be at the very bottom of the page after all the policies. Yep. And so you'll see this is very generic. It's what we do every single year. Cost for field trips is approved by the principal. For elementary, those amazing musical instruments known as recorders, club and extracurricular activities, supplemental reading materials, instrument rental and maintenance, choral performance attire, and the list adds as we go to middle and high school.
Okay. Anyone have a question about the fees? Number 2, engineering and construction.
This is tab 4, request for a digital sign for Smyrna Primary School. Principal Jason Eaton is requesting to purchase a new digital sign through the TIPS bid process. This new sign will be provided by Golden Rule at a cost of $26,678.12, will be funded through school accounts. The request is at no cost to the board. Engineering and Construction has reviewed the request and has no objection.
Questions on our digital sign? Number 2,
Number 2, request for baseball turf installation. Principal Justin Smith of Blackman High School is requesting to install synthetic turf to the home plate and pitcher's mound areas. The cost for this request, is $26,885, will be awarded to SDS Distribution. The funds for this project will come from the Blackman High baseball account. The request will be at no cost to the board. Engineering and Construction has reviewed the request and has no objection.
questions on our request from Mr. Justin Smith? Seeing none, number 2.
Number 2 will go back with that. I will work on the wording of that because these two go together. This is just the request for design funding for a new middle school. Engineering and Construction Department is requesting to move forward to Health and Ed with a request for funding for the design of a middle school on the Poplar Hill Beatty property. This request is keeping with the 24-25 building program schedule. Amount requested is $3,700,000 based on that construction budget of $74 million. So one of them is for funding, one of them is just approving the request.
Okay. Questions about design funding? Number 12, naming request.
Principal Steve Luker is requesting to name the Rockville High School football field in honor of Homer Brown. Mr. Brown's an original 1955 Rockville High graduate and community member.
That's lovely. Anyone have a question on? I did not teach the 1955. I was born in 1953, so I missed it. Just barely, though, just barely. Yeah, you're so funny. Anyone else have a question about this? This is such a lovely thing to do. All right, director's evaluation results. I'm going to let you know that following TSBA protocol, I will report the director evaluation scores at our regular meeting. These scores will not be made public until that time, but you will receive a printed copy on Thursday night. So I will be reporting out on Thursday night. Do you have anything else, Dr. Sullivan? All right, insurance.
We're doing our interviews for our new budget coordinator position that we posted. And then we're also working to schedule our open enrollment for the first 2 weeks in October, trying to mimic what we did last year. And then, of course, I know Dr. Sullivan is helping us to come up with our premium updates so that we can talk about that in September.
Yeah, we're looking at a committee. All right. Financial report.
Nothing right now.
Nothing?
Nope, nothing this month.
I think we had enough on here for a financial report. And number 16, the director's update.
I'll mention this again on Thursday. So we've started off very well. It is a act of God and a feat of Congress to get all of our schools up and running. As big as we are to get them running. I mean, teachers just started back last Thursday and kids come tomorrow. And so that is a huge logistical challenge. So thank you to our principals, our teachers, our staff, our central office staff, because I know we're all ragged by this point, and I'm sure we'll have some issues tomorrow. In the first couple of days, we always do, just because we're so big, and we've asked parents and community members just to give us grace as we get everything worked out. I have visited 50 schools in the last 2.5 days. Overall, culture is absolutely amazing, so thank you, board, for your support of that. We don't have openings hardly anywhere. It's not the problem you see in other places. I mean, it truly is doing well. One school I'm very concerned about is Blackman Middle School. Blackman Middle School has officially popped the bubble of being over 1,700, and not just popped it, they are just going well over 1,700. Where were they at today? Did you go? You were out there today. Yeah, so
How many?
1,750. So they went from 1,680 to 1,750, and I do not want to put a cap at Blackman Middle because the next closest school is Rockville Middle, which is already over 1,650. There's nowhere for them to go. Smyrna Middle is our next best spot, but we can't hold very many more middle school. Really, we shouldn't be holding that many middle school kids in any building anyways. But 1,750 is a lot.
Anyone have a comment or question? Yes.
I know that one thing that the principal, Dr. Jackson, was really requesting and looking at is to get a second SRO in the building because of the issue with the overcrowding, and I believe there was some, this budget that was passed included funding for that additional SRO. Do we know if there's someone already there, or?
There is.
No?
I don't think there's not a second one that I know of that even made it through to the budget process.
Oh, we didn't?
I'll have to get with Sheriff Fitzhugh and see where we are.
I'm sorry?
I'll have to get with Sheriff Fitzhugh and get an update, but
Yeah, that'd
I
be
don't
great,
believe of a
'cause
second one.
I was
do
told
you?
that we were
Yeah.
getting funding to have additional SRO.
I thought so as well, but I don't believe that made it through.
It didn't make it through. Wow, okay.
Been stricken.
Remember, those aren't our,
Wow, well, because that was I was told something totally different. So,
I do think it's a good idea with 1,750 middle schoolers. Phew. Okay. Anyone else? 17 and 18, I'm going to assume you don't have anything right now. All right. Let's move to general discussion. Do we have some general discussion right now? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Sharp?
I had one, and if John will pull the picture up. Oh, I'm sorry, I emailed it to you. Well, then we'll have it Thursday night. Simon Springs
All right.
has a new billboard,
Okay.
new sign.
Okay, so maybe you can get it to go through for Thursday night. Don't let me forget to, you want to do it in general discussion on Thursday night? Okay, that will be fine. Anyone else?
did you go by and visit yet?
I have not.
Man, it looks, Trey, your team did amazing. It looks like a completely different building.
Simon Springs.
2/3 of it looked like a completely different building.
It's exciting, isn't it?
Gotcha. Well, you guys did all you could in 2 months. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Can't wait to see it.
Madam Chairwoman,
Yes.
I just want to commend Trey and your team And the construction guys, they're working like gangbusters. I came by a month ago and looked at Riverdale and Oakland, and I was like, okay, are we going to put this back together where the kids can come in?
have
And
cafeteria?
they did it. The cafeteria is huge. I think you could play a football game in there. It's that big. And you've done just wonderful. And Smyrna's going to be ready soon. Yeah, so it's just, I want to commend you. I know, it was a huge task, and I have a feeling that they're going to be ready for next fall.
That's wonderful. Ms. Sharp, do you have something else you wanted to add? Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Darby.
I just wanted to give a shout out to our school security personnel and all of the law enforcement in Rutherford County. Some of us attended a safety training day that we have implemented, and it was awesome to see all of that. And I think that anybody that has any questions shouldn't have any, because it was pretty cool to see. Just a really proud moment, I think, for our county to see several different law enforcement departments all coming together to work on that and go through those drills, and a lot of our administrators and principals attending and stuff too. It was really, really good. So thank you for letting us see that. It was awesome.
I don't think there's another county that has paid more attention to safety and can brag any more than we have. And it is so appreciated, not just by this board, but by all of those employees out there that you folks are protecting. So thank you so much. Dr. Sullivan? Yes.
There was also other counties. Cannon County was there, Mr. Bill West was there.
Nice.
So there was other counties that were there. I'm sure we didn't get to see everybody. And there was also a representative from the TBI and FBI.
I bet they were jealous.
Probably.
I bet they were very jealous.
Probably very.
Dr. Sullivan?
I just want to thank Patty and John, because I know they organized it and put everything together, which is a logistical challenge in and of itself. I think in talking to some of our principals today, the actual drill part of it was new to us, but the information necessarily isn't, because we practice that so much. And so the first couple hours, you hear feedback of, we know all of this information, but then when you see the different law enforcement agencies that know it but never get to practice it because we practice it, that's where the power was, seeing that come together. So thank you guys.
Came together nicely, didn't it?
It did. We have some things to work on, which you would expect. That's why we
That's why you
something
do it,
like
though,
that.
so you
That's why
know.
you do something like that.
That's why you make mistakes, so that you can correct them and not make the mistake again.
Ms. Bryant?
Did you have something, Ms. Rosales?
Yeah. Well, I was going to echo what Ms. Darby said. It was pretty amazing to witness that. And actually, I was on the spectator side, where there were actually, you see where the assimilation of really happening. And I will tell you that, being as an spectator, even though it was not a real training, it got to me a little bit, just hearing it, because it was definitely felt like it was almost like real life. So I commend the everyone that was involved. I know Patty and the SROs worked on this for a whole year, and with the EMT as well. Chris Clark and his team, they've been talking about this for a very long time, and to see it come to fruition and the implementation of it, it was really well done. So good job.
Thank you. Dr. Sullivan?
Only thing I want to add is when we look at the academic calendar for this upcoming year, 25-26, we right now still require teachers to get 6 hours of in-service on their own. I don't have any idea how in the world we're going to build it into the calendar, but we were very pinched this year to have enough days. If teachers just started Thursday, we had a district-wide pull day Friday. Yesterday, all administrators were out of the building. It's a pinch to get school started. So when you guys see that, it may look to parents like we have an extra day before school starts next year, but that's to hopefully get that extra hour in and then allow us to truly have some time with our faculties, because they got about a day and a half, and that was it. And that's hard to start our big schools in a day
Hard
and
to
a half.
start, yeah. It's hard to start like that with not enough time in your school or with your principal or whatever. We did a great job, but we just may have to add and do some different things when school starts next year. You can just look at that when you're doing the calendar, Dr. Sullivan. Yes, ma'am? He found it? Oh, okay.
Can you make it a little bit bigger?
Oh, the sign looks great.
A little. Everybody's excited.
Yeah, done the sign looks
The top of the sign is all brand new. The bottom of the sign is LED, but it's outdated. We'll be working on that with the other 2/3.
And your staff and a couple contractors did it all, correct?
We put our contractor hat back on and managed it in-house, if that's what, yes, we managed it all in-house.
We appreciate that, Trey. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Young.
Madam Chair, I'd like to remind everyone, we do have a 100-year celebration out at Walter Hill.
Walter Hill, yes.
That will be Saturday, 11 to 1. I think that's,
Come on out. Food trucks.
remind everyone again on Thursday.
Please don't forget to do that, because I think Ms. Heath is wanting as many people there as possible, and she's worked very hard on this all year long. And yes, Katie, I did teach her.
I'll be speaking Saturday. I'm not wearing my middle school basketball uniform, though. It is on display, and I'm not wearing it. Not wearing it. Not wearing it. No.
I might be walking around with my mother's DAR photo saying, this is my mother, and she was the DAR here at Walter Hill when she graduated. So, anyone else? Ms. Darby?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. We are adjourned.